Hi, hello, good evening, everyone. As of all of you know, my name is Abhinav, and this session is mainly dedicated for young people. Okay, हम में से सब लोग any day at any some time in life, we have thought कि हम भी एक startup करते हैं, right? So this session is for them, right? It's a session for entrepreneurs to make a brand from a scratch, right? So today we have esteemed, very young panels with us, and we have Rohan Bhai, we have Jivika, we have Deepak, and we have Kushal, right? So just before we delve into the discussion, I have some data with me about the startup ecosystem in India, right? So India is third largest startup ecosystem, where DP IIT has recognized more than 1 lakh startups in India, right? So it's a very huge number, and let me tell you one thing, that 95,000 startups were started in last 7 years, right? So it pretends the speed at which India is moving towards a startup ecosystem, right? And if I want to give you a data about the ecosystem, how the whole ecosystem is developing in India, so there are 15 times increase in startups funding, right? Since last 5 years, suppose I was an investor who used to fund 100 rupees in startup before 5 years. Now I'm investing 1,500 rupees in startups, right? There are 7 times increase on every year basis for startups, the number of startups, right? And we have 114 unicorns in India, out of which 7 unicorns have been listed into the stock market, right? And probably in 2024, there will more 12 startups to be listed on IPO, right? So let us start with the questions first. And Jivika, this question will be first for you. So based on your experience and observations, what are some common characteristics or strategies you have noticed among successful entrepreneurs who have built brands from scratch?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Really surprised to know I'm the first female speaker for the day. But you know what they say, that a strong woman stands up for herself, and a stronger woman stands up for everyone else. So here I am today to represent our entire female and women community. To answer your question, firstly, thank you so much for taking your time to chat with all of us and get these insights in.
So, basically, as per your observation, what are the key characteristics and strategy for entrepreneurs to make a brand from scratch?
Yeah. So branding to me is a beautiful world. Just to begin with, I see a room full of men and a few females. I do run a female startup. So I want to know if any one of you has heard of the brand Aste. Okay. And you're a male? I think that's what a brand is, right, then?
Yeah,
that having such a niche brand for female, and I see a gentleman raising hands. So Aste is a sustainable, size-inclusive athleisure brand for the women of India. And we are, in fact, the largest community of women in India who choose to live Aste, which basically means to take it easy. And coming back to your question, I think the biggest trait when it comes to building a brand, especially in the early stages, it has to be for us storytelling, right? What is this brand being built for? What is the story the brand wants to tell? What is that we're trying to achieve by telling the story? For example, for us, we figured out a very simple gap in the market when it came to the storytelling aspect, which was not just the fact that the athleisure wear market is a 30 lakh crore market and growing, but also that women do not take it easy on themselves. Back in the day, we were homemakers, and now we have equal opportunities in workplace. But what that has done for us is that we have more responsibilities instead of less, because we are homemakers and we are here sharing boardroom seats, right? So we have stopped taking it easy on ourselves, and that's the gap, and that's the storytelling messaging that we at Aste figured out, that we need to encourage women to take it easy. We need to tell them that it's all right. We're all going through the same cycles, and those are the crux of brand building. So for us, it's definitely storytelling, and the second aspect of it is resilience. to getting up every day and figuring out the last fall and why it happened, and then trying to rectify that fall in the fastest method. A gentleman before us spoke about implementation. I absolutely resonate with that. I think implementation in early stages is everything. You can beautify your brand story, your product later, but as long as you have a clear message, you have to run with it. You have to take it out to the market before everyone else does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Storytelling is always a main aspect of, when you want to do a branding. So the next question is from you, Kushal. So, as per your perspective, what are the some key trends or development shaping the startup landscape in terms of brand positioning or in terms of marketing? So what are the key elements? So, as per your perspective, what are some key trends or development that are shaping startup landscape, particularly in branding and market positioning?
So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much once again for having me. It's an absolute honor and privilege to sit amongst such an esteemed panelist and such an esteemed crowd as well. So just answering your question, right, it's very crucial for a brand to just now ensure that distribution is something which is going to help them in order to sell their products. Again, like giving you very simple examples. I'm a very big fan of distribution-first business models. I run an education company, by the way, so I'll just give more examples of the education companies which are there in India, and even outside India for that matter. Companies that have already built their own distribution, and then they are capitalizing on their own distribution, they are the ones who have always succeeded. You take examples of PhysicsWallah. That is the company which would be the only profitable edtech unicorn in India out of all the 6 edtech unicorns that are there in India. Apart from that, what I feel is that even founders who are now running their own startups, it's very crucial for them to build their personal brand on LinkedIn, I feel. Like previous panel had a question on how important it is to build your own personal brand. And I can very well resonate to it when you are yourself building your personal brand. Today, customers will also purchase your product not only because they like your product, but also because they like the founder. So for example, let's say you talk about Shark Tank India. A lot of sharks have gained immense popularity across social media. And let's say if someone likes Mr. Piyush Bansal or someone likes, let's say, Mr. Aman Gupta, they would be more than happy to at least try their products because they really like the way they ask questions on Shark Tank India. And that is something which is leveraging their own personal brand to sell their own products after a point in time. LinkedIn pe, there's this amendment which came recently where all the founders, if they post something, there's a section called Visit My Website. And that is something which is helping all the creators also to leverage their own brand in order to sell something after a point in time. So all in all, these are like some new trends, according to me, which startup founders or brands can leverage after a point in time. Myself, if you ask me, I have built my own personal brand on LinkedIn. 2022 was the year when LinkedIn gave me the LinkedIn Top Voice Award. And today, like with all humility, after having like 260,000 followers, I think that is something which is helping me in order to build the credibility, build trust. And then that is something which will help me in order to garner customer satisfaction as well after a point in time. So if I reach out to someone on my LinkedIn handle itself, like via my LinkedIn handle, it becomes much easier for that connection request to get accepted because of the credibility that is built. And lastly, I think influencer marketing, which is a new trend that is also going to be there in the future. So there was this new report by HubSpot, which is a very big digital marketing agency across the globe. It mentioned that 89% of the marketeers are either going to spend or they are going to increase their influencer marketing budgets in 2025 and going forward. Even there's a Forbes article which mentioned that 83% of the brands have mentioned that they are going to increase their content production budget as well. Companies like Grow and Wintwealth, if you see their YouTube channel, they are content-first businesses. And then they are able to acquire customers from those distributions. So all I'm trying to say is that content, social media, influencer marketing, your personal brand, these are some trends which I see in today's generation when it comes to building your own brand.
It was very insightful, guys. Let me tell you one thing that Kushal has, more than 200K followers on LinkedIn. And believe me, I have rarely seen any account having such a huge followers. And अभी just 10 मिनट पहले उन्होंने मेरा connection request accept किया है. So, okay. So the next question is for you, Rohan bhai. Let me tell you one thing that Rohan is venture partner with us. So we are also kind of startup, and this question is basically on based on collaboration, right? So how do you find collaboration and strategic partnership is helpful for the startups? Because when you are starting it from a scratch, right? You alone you can't make anything. Right, you need to have a good partnership, good collaboration in the market to spread awareness about your brand. So I just wanted to hear it from you, Ron. How do you see these things?
Yeah, first of all, great question here. I believe most startups here and even investors would agree that startups often operate with very limited resources and capital. And with that limited resources, your skills also get, limited, or areas of expertise are limited. And how partnerships help you is, for example, we have our D2C queen here, and then, we can leverage help with a tech first brand, how AI can, help increase their revenue and product profitability. Likewise, someone who's building a tech one but is not available offline. Someone from D2C, a really good expert, can help immensely by providing them their expertise and areas of improvement advice. So that way, I think partnerships and alliances is of tremendous importance. This was just one example to show how it's useful.
Yeah, that's great. So Deepak, I hope you're not getting bored. I was just coming to you itself. So Deepak, it's a question based on the events happen in startups, right? So let me tell you the 4 events, and then you have to arrange those 4 events into chronological order, right? So team building, idea testing, seed funding, building prototype of product. So what, you need to arrange this in a chronological order. If you want, then, I can repeat the options once again. Yeah, please, you can. You can take time because, it will help, many young entrepreneurs in the room to understand that how they should strategize their growth.
Hello. Yeah. So thank you for having me here. And the question that you asked, it's very crucial for the initial stage startups to go through this process. And starting with the first, I believe that the team building is the first priority, that every startup should have to be go forward with first thing. Having a great team is not only just help you to build a great product, but it's also help you to go for a great vision. So that's, I believe, the first thing that everybody should have to go through. Second is building a prototype. So there's always been going and meet multiple startups, and the first question that always been there, we want to raise fund, but they don't have the product. They have only the idea, and idea is nothing. The previous panel also you mentioned that idea is nothing, the execution is everything. So first, you should be with your prototype. First, you should have your MVP ready with you. So whenever you're going to pitch somebody with a fun thing, every investor should ask you, what's your product, what's your MVP, have there any traction on that or not? So the second thing always been the prototype. You should have their prototype. Then you go for the testing, how the work is going to be work or not. Go for the small sections of customers, test your idea, is it working or not, and then go for the seed funding route if it is needed or not. First check if it is needed or not. If it is needed, definitely go forward it. But if it is not needed, you are sustainable with your revenue that you're currently generating with the product, then it's okay to avoid that first and work with your MVP.
That's a great answer.
If I can just add a few points here, right?
Please.
One common question which a lot of people have is that whether you build a team first or first you raise capital and then you build a team. That is a very big dilemma, because without funds, you can't hire a team. And if you hire a team, you'll have to pay them salaries and then you'll have to raise capital. So I think the way to look at it is it should go hand in hand. If, let's say, you can hire, the best way to start off any business is through hiring interns, which is what a lot of people did. I wrote one book called Unlocking Unicorn Secrets, where I interviewed 20 unicorn founders of India. When I was interviewing Oyo's founder, Ritesh Agarwal, he mentioned that he hired his first intern. He did not even pay anything to him. They just gave him some ESOPs. And those ESOPs are worth more than 100 crores today at the valuation which Oyo is at today. So the point here is that team building and seed funding, that can go hand in hand, but you need to hire interns first, give them some incentives in the form of ESOPs, which is equity stock options, and then after a point in time, once the capital is raised, you can, of course, then hire people of higher stature and the senior leadership team as well.
And I would like to add something. So thing is, if you couldn't able to convince somebody to work with you in a team, how could you convince the investor first, to put money into it?
Agreed.
So the first point is to build your team, convince them, make them trust in your idea first. Then you're going to be investors and ask for the funds.
Obviously. So the team building is the most prior thing to do before you guys want to make a startup, for all the young entrepreneurs in this room, right? So, like we have the next question to Rohan Bhai for you, right? And, when we talk about sustainability, right? So, most oftenly I come across some startups who have very less runway, right? The amount for runway is very less in their bank, right? And in last 5 years, total 130 Indian companies, right, that are startups, they have generated a revenue of 2.85 lakh CR, right? And out of which, from this 130 companies, 96 company have incurred a loss of 64,000. So what do you prioritize? Whether it is revenue by making an expansion or focusing on profitability first. So what should be, as per you, that startup founders should give a priority first?
So, as per me, one thing which is most important is solving for customers' pain point, understanding the problem well and solving for it. Because if you are solving the problem well, revenue will also come, profitability भी आएगी, सब आएगा. But आप customer को actual problem जो है वो solve करो, उससे दोनों चीजें आएंगी. But yeah, like profitability takes time. Obviously, you have areas where you're period where you're burning and then breaking even slowly. So yeah, in the order, solve the customer's problem first, then revenue, and then come to profitability.
All right. So, Jivika, just, I had one more question for you. Startups, they have a product, even though that product is good, right? But still, they are not going to earn a penny if the customers are not using it, right? So, in order to place that product in the market or in customers' mind, companies spend a huge money, right? Let it be marketing, through influencers or any other events, right? So what do can you tell me some, techniques or, some way of marketing at very cheap cost?
I think we're doing that right now, right? So ways of marketing at a cheap cost, I mean, it takes me back to storytelling and it takes me back to what our friend here has answered already, which is content creation. It's free of cost to create an Instagram page. It's free of cost to create a YouTube channel. It's free of cost to have a LinkedIn profile. And it's really free of cost to you to reach out to people, to reach out to partners through LinkedIn, to reach out. Well, LinkedIn, of course, you'll have to use an email and pay for that at some point. But it's if you really think about it, the ecosystem is so simple that most of the things of reaching out are absolutely free. You need zero money in your bank to actually keep reaching out with your stories and to the customers. So it's about, I always say this, it's about getting the next no. You'll go to somebody and you'll say, hey, here's my product. Most likely they'll say no, but that's what makes you even more eager to get the next no. So as long as you have it in you to get the next no, that means you have the power to keep going and keep asking and keep using these free tools to keep reaching out.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
That was nice, and I will try to do, I will suggest this to one of my friend, right? So thank you for that, Jivika. And Kushal, the next question is for you. In last 12 months, I have, reviewed more than 100 pitch, right? And out of which I remember 50 to 60 pitch decks were rejected only because the valuations were inflated, right? As per the current scenarios in market, we can see some startups who have seen a sharp slash in their valuation, right? So, what do you find? What would you like to suggest entrepreneurs about the inflating the valuations?
That's a brilliant question. I feel that don't chase valuation, instead just chase value creation. That is something which has really helped me in order to scale my own venture as well. And investors also know that if someone is just asking redundant valuation or it's like just absurd after a point in time, they'll also try to compare with the competition which is going to be there. In my opinion, the advice to all the entrepreneurs out there would be that first, just start your own business. Just start your own, start it with your own capital if you have that. If you don't have that, then you'll have to go and raise capital. Like the first seed round, you'll have to dilute around 15% to 18% depending on what kind of VC you get in or what kind of angels you have on board. But the best way to look at it is that 1 year or 2 years down the line, whether you will be able to scale that business to meet those metrics after a point in time. I know people who have raised capital even before starting their own companies, like at an idea stage, and they have got a valuation of $5 million, even $10 million for that matter. And I also know people who have started their own companies but have not been able to raise capital because VCs were not able to put in capital because they didn't like that founder or they were not able to take that bet. So only piece of advice would be that don't chase valuations here, just do your own research and just solve that problem so passionately that somewhere or the other, some or the other VC would just come and reach out to you, which is what happened with so many companies. You talk about Flipkart and Lee Fixel reached out to them. Lee Fixel was just trying to like order some books and Flipkart was the first website which came on his handle. And he immediately reached out to the founders of Flipkart and that's how Tiger Global invested and that's how like the story of Flipkart was there. Similarly, like the same story was there with Carrot Lane as well when Tiger Global invested in that company as well. All I'm trying to say is that if you keep doing good work and after a point in time, VCs or anyone would try to identify you and put in capital. And then after a point in time, the stage like your company will be at a stage where a lot of VCs would want to put in capital and then you will have to figure out ki kya valuation set karna hai. My only advice is that valuation should always be in comparison with the competition that is happening. After you go for IPO, like which is the initial public offer, the metrics should be justified after a point in time. So that is something which I'm a big fan of. And that's the only piece of advice for all the entrepreneurs. Don't chase valuation for now. Even like at the early stage, valuations are not going to matter. Like it's just good for PR. Like आपका N-Tracker INC42 में या Your Story में article आ जाएगा कि okay ये company ने इतने पे valuation पे उठाया. But after a point in time, what is more important is कितना revenues है, unit economics क्या है, margins कितने, profitability है या नहीं है. That is something which is more important in my opinion. Chase on these metrics, CM1, CM2 and all, and then on valuations.
Great. Yeah, you guys can clap if you want. Okay. So, Deepak, the next question is for you. And, the question is, what is, out of these 4 stages, what stage or which stage is appropriate for any startups to raise funds, right? So, it's ideation stage, when, you have prototype with you, when you have MVP with you, or else, if you have started generating the first fraction of revenue. So what is the right stage to raise funds and why?
So, I mean, I believe that there is different stages for different startups where they raise fund from. Some startups needed an initial stage in the ideation only. कोई startup को चाहिए कि वो जब वो revenue generate कर रहा है तब raise करना चाहिए. So it's all depends upon कि वो किस niche में startup कर रहा है and what's their requirement at what time. So it doesn't depend upon कि आप कौन से stage पे आप raise करना चाहते हो. Ideally, I believe that कि first you have to be like build your MVP first and then check whether you are looking to raise fund or नहीं जरूरत है भी कि नहीं उसकी. तो that's the thing actually. And one thing is that don't be initially start chasing the investors and trying to raise fund. As much as you can, like go for the sustainably business build karo apna pehle, and let the investor comes to you. Let they ask like if they want to invest in it or not. So that's the thing, yeah.
Great. Okay. So, Rohan bhai, the next question is for you. Right. I know you interact with investors more oftenly, right? You have attended more than 100 pitch, in last 1 or 2 years, right? So, what are the 3 major things that investors want to invest in startups?
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, first is the availability of the market size. I mean, TAM, SAM, SOM, the typical things. Okay, that would be the second. First, as we covered in some of our earlier chats as well, is the founding team. The founders, their background, their past experience, and their ability to learn and be open for change and learning. Second, the TAM, SAM, SOM. And third is obviously the competitors. How is their offering different from their competition? What are they doing differently? What is their moat? These are the main things I would look at before deciding which company to invest in. And any investor I would suggest to look at rather than just see that, some XYZ VC firm is investing or XYZ angel is investing. That doesn't make it a good startup. You have your own thesis, build your own thesis, and then decide how to invest basis that.
Great. So, guys, we are already running out of the time, right? So this is the last question, and it is for you, Kushal. You know, how important it is for any startups to get right mentorship when they started from scratch?
Yeah, that's a good question again. I feel mentorship or getting guidance is something which is very underrated, firstly, in my opinion. And secondly, choosing the right mentors is something which is more important as compared to just getting a lot of mentors. Having one mentor who would be able to guide you in all the areas of life is something which is much better than having 10 different mentors who will guide you in 10 different areas of life. That is my ideology. And secondly, I feel that mentor should be someone who should be happy when they see you vulnerable. Like we as founders, there are a lot of problems which goes in our startups as well. Sometimes, let's say the CACs are going off the roof. Sometimes the profitability margins are not being met. The revenue targets are not being met. Investors would sometimes put a burden on the founder, and that is something which usually happens. But mentor should be someone who should be happy when they see the founder being vulnerable. And if that is the mentor, then I think that's the right mentor, like whom you have chosen. And he'll be able to just help you in order to succeed through your own way. So I feel that choosing the right mentor is more important. Sharing everything, be it the problems, be it the solutions, the good things as well as the bad things, like bad things sharing first, that is something which will help the mentor-mentee relationship also to enhance after a point in time. So that's my opinion of having a right mentor. Of course, for me also, in the education sector, I've chosen someone who's like very good when it comes to the education industry. And that person has been helping me in order to grow my own venture as well. And we have to be cognizant enough that their time is equally valuable. I have noticed one thing in my life. As a founder, like there are, let's say if people who are 3-4 levels above you in terms of success, they won't be the ones who will help you in and out always. Always try to reach out to people who are, let's say, 1 level above you. They'll be able to help you more as compared to the people who are, let's say, 4-5 levels above you. And gradually, once you, let's say, scale up in your own venture, then you can reach out to people who are 4-5 levels above you, and they'll be able to help you as well. So that's the journey, and that is something which I have been a big fan of.
Great, excellent. So here I, would like to end this fireside chat, and I would like to thank Rohan Bhai, Jivika, Deepak, and Kushal for your insightful, speech. Thank you, everyone.
And we'd like to thank you as well, Abhinav. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please
Thank
kindly
you for
join
listening
us
to us.
Thanks,
for a
everyone.
lovely picture.
Great. Yeah.
And we'd like to present the mementos. Come, please come. Please step forward for a group photo op. Come, come. Jeet is here. If Meet, you're here, kindly join us as well for this group picture, for the fireside chat. Friends, may we please put our hands together for Rohan Bajaj, Jivika Tyagi, Deepak Chauhan, and Kushal Lodha.